For our project, we decided to look into what climate change is doing to different environments across the globe. We decided this would be a good topic because it's something that, whether we like it or not, affects every person on this earth.
Due to climate change, the tropical rainforests are being hit pretty hard. As time goes on, the rainforest will lose its ability to grow, so this would possibly bring an end to the rainforest ecosystem as we know it. There will no longer be big, leafy, and beautiful trees, as they'll be replaced by shrubs. Just shrubs. The rainforest is right on the road to turning into future savannas. The tropical rainforests play a major role in global climate change. They take in about 20% of all carbon emissions.
An example of what would happen is food shortages. Approximately 1/7 of the world's population depends on tropical rainforests for food.
A study from 1980 shows that there has been a decrease in rainfall in these areas, and therefore reduced the number of corn, wheat, rice, etc. In these areas, since the temperatures are rising, trees and fruit plants in the rainforests are either growing earlier or later on in the season, while the local agriculture is not. Due to the number of plants, trees, and crops that are dying, this also leads to a spike in number of endangered animal species. Tropical rainforests house over 30 million animals, in which there is a lot of competition for the food in the rainforest. There doesn't even need to be much loss in the rainforest for these animals to become more vulnerable.
When people think of global warming, they often assume that it only affects things like polar ice caps and coral reefs. This is completely wrong, as global warming affects every part of the globe. It is slightly different for temperate forests, though, as global warming causes some positive things along with all the negatives. Warmer temperatures and an increase in greenhouse gases has a possibility of inspiring plant growth if those species are tolerant to shifts in temperature. Deciduous trees that grow in these forests, for example, thrive in warmer temperatures.
A large negative for these forests is the possibility of a shift in weather. One of these possible changes in weather is severe rain. If there is severe rain, it causes flooding in the area, which in turn can either rob nutrients from the soil that the plant life needs, or it could add nutrients overloads and large amount of pollutants, causing serious damage to the trees. Another possibility is a severe drought. If the area had a drought, it would destroy the tree's ability to produce sap. There is already a problem for ash trees, the emerald ash borer, and the sap is how other trees protect themselves against these insects. Many other species of trees could be in danger, just like the ash, along with the fact that drier trees can cause a higher risk of wildfires. All of that paired with the higher temperatures creates an extremely unpredictable environment for the forest.
A big concern for many experts on this topic is their concerns for the wildlife. If these forest fires and plagues of insects happen, that would destroy homes for many different species, including bald eagles, squirrels, opossums, and many others. Another problem with animals living in forests is for the animals that make dens in the ground. Animals like badgers, foxes, and skunks would be flooded out of their homes, having to move to a whole new habitat just to find another.
As we see time go on, we can tell that the coniferous forests have been hit hard by the climate change, from forest fires to endangerment of many plants and animal species that live in these forests.
A study done by Max Planck Institute of Biodiversity has shown that there has been an increase in forest fires from global warming. Due to global warming, the fires are usually sparked by droughts, heat waves, and a shift in plant communities. Over time, these forest fires have been luminous and dangerous, as they have spread throughout these forests and have caused more damage. Across the westernmost front of the United States, there's now a higher potential for wildfires spreading towards the East Coast.
As these coniferous trees burn in these fires, it's hard to recolonize the growth of coniferous trees, especially in the burnt areas. But since these seeds are so small, they can be picked up in the wind or even by small animals and birds. This could lead to a new abundance of coniferous trees in North America. But there's always a possibility that these forest fires will keep happening. That is what we need to be careful of. These forests play a major role in our lives and the lives of many other species. The coniferous trees take in a lot of carbon emissions created by us, and it also regulates the air temperature that comes from the oceans. Without these trees in places like California, it could be miserable living there in those conditions.
Freshwater ecosystems can be found all over the world. They are a part of life for many people on planet Earth. The scary thing about these freshwater ecosystems is just how vulnerable they are. Global warming has become a huge problem for many freshwater fish because of their vulnerability to changes in temperature. This vulnerability is because fish can't regulate their own body temperatures. The warmer water temperature can cause stunted growth of fish offspring. This is a huge problem for many reasons. For one, smaller fish could discourage people from fishing in those areas and cause the fish to outgrow its ecosystem and run out of food.
Another problem is that the smaller fish may find it harder to survive, being eaten or pushed out by bigger fish and other predators. The warmer water could also prevent fish from having the ability to reproduce. Some fish, like sturgeon, catfish, and salmon, can only spawn if the temperatures are below a certain point. On the other side of things, some fish can't handle the increase in temperature, and since they live in fresh water, they often have nowhere to relocate to.
A third huge problem by global warming is the reduced water flow down many rivers. This reduced water flow means that many species of fish and other animals won't have enough water to survive, and in the fish's case, won't have enough water to migrate and breed. Global warming in the oceans is causing many threats to us today. One big problem is coral bleaching. Coral bleaching can cause starvation of many species, shrinkage of the reef, and death of all corals in the reef. This could lead to extinction of all fish, shellfish, and sharks that live off the reefs. An example of coral bleaching would be in the Great Barrier Reef. The Great Barrier Reef is the biggest reef in the world, and they are dying at a significant rate, and we need to help it.
An effect of climate change in oceans is fish migration. The fish are moving north due to the warming of the ocean. This could leave the middle of the ocean empty. It could also severely damage many fisheries, depending on if the fish will later on adapt to these warmer waters. Another effect of climate change is the rising of sea levels. The problem with this is that the wetlands will be overflooded and many cities under sea level will be flooded as well. Rising sea levels are mainly caused by melting ice sheets and glaciers. Many sea meadows and reefs will die from this, mainly because they need to synthesize in shallow water.
The main reason we need our world's oceans is to breathe. The ocean is one of the main contributors to our clean air. They absorb about 1/3 of all the carbon emissions that humans create. The grasslands are hit with many different problems by climate change. Many wildfires are started by droughts. The droughts also cause the loss of wetlands, and many birds will not migrate in this area, and many other animals will sit and suffer, giving up on life after searching for water.
The little changes in temperature can also change the abundance of animals in these areas. Some examples can conclude of overfreezing, which could possibly overdo the freezing season and disrupt crops for farmers and the well-being of many animals. A lot of the changes in animals and many plant species mainly consist of there not being enough rainfall and fires.
On the other hand, if there is too much rainfall, it can be a bad thing. In situations like this, if there are too many droughts and not enough plants growing in it, there could be erosions. Erosions is a major threat to the grasslands. These erosions wipe out everything in its path and kill whatever can possibly get caught in it.
Later on, it will be a big blob of rock, sand, and dirt. The struggle of this across grasslands would be miserable and a terrible thing. Farmers depend on these. Agriculture-wise, this is not an option. Many farmers will do everything they can to expand their fields to prevent disasters from wiping out their crops.
A tundra is an ecosystem that is characteristically cold and dry, meaning that it's especially sustainable to global warming and the warmer temperatures that come with it. NASA defines permafrost as any ground that remains completely frozen for at least 2 years straight. Permafrost covers tundra biomes, and due to global warming, it is thawing. Permafrost is made from frozen soil and plant matter, so when it thaws, soil microbes, which are microorganisms that live in the soil, convert the carbon coming up into carbon dioxide and methane. This turns the tundra into a large source of greenhouse gas emissions, making them warmer temperatures, thawing more permafrost, and continuing this terrible cycle and destroying the environment.
Another big concern is what the increase in temperatures will do to the animals that are specifically adapted to life in the tundra. Animals like the muskox and the caribou have 2 layers of fur, helping to protect them from the cold. Warmer temperatures would cause them to either adapt or overheat and die. Another problem is that there are some animals that only live in the tundra. A red fox are a species that are normally found in southern areas. Due to the warmer temperatures, many of them are moving north into the tundra, having to compete with the Arctic fox for both food and territory. It may seem like a kind of out there idea at first, but yes, climate change even affects the most humid and dry of deserts. The main problem that desert ecosystems are facing is caused by the lack of rainfall. According to National Geographic, a desert is defined as an area of land that receives no more than 10 inches of rainfall per year. This causes these desert ecosystems to be extremely vulnerable to changes in temperature and humidity, just like what is happening right now.
The desert inhabitants, such as cacti, camels, and kangaroos, have all developed their own ways of dealing with the desert's extreme heat and drought. Cacti have a large root system so they can soak up any rainfall that does happen and store a lot of it in their main body. Camels store large amounts of water in their bloodstream, and kangaroos lick themselves to lower their body temperatures. With the change in temperature, it could slow down even the lackluster amount of rainfall they receive. It also gets rid of the nutrients in the soil, preventing a lot of the diversity that we see in our current deserts.
A huge effect that is happening now is called desertification. NASA defines desertification as permanent land degradation in typically dry areas, resulting from various factors, including climatic variations and human activities. Because of the increase in temperatures and the lack of nutrients in the soil around these deserts, the deserts are spreading, ruining all the surrounding areas.
After researching our question of how does climate change affect ecosystems across the world, we decided that through all of the uncertainties, there are a few conclusive things. Global warming is happening faster than most people think, and it's caused by carbon dioxide and methane emissions from human practices. It will affect all of us, and there may still be time to slow its effects down. If the world can find a way to work together, preventing further climate change may be possible. If we make no efforts, the world may not look even remotely similar to what it does now in as little as 50 or 100 years.
These are our sources.